soy La Morena, and today I am going to be talking about the top 7 accounts that I follow to learn Japanese. Now, I am going to be talking about YouTube and Instagram. About a year ago, I went over my favorite YouTube channels and podcasts that I like to follow to learn Spanish, but today I'm focusing on Japanese. And I'm going to go over my top 7. Okay, so first on the list is Matt versus Japan. Now, Matt is a guy who learned Japanese to a very high level of fluency. I mean, he actually sounds like a Japanese person, and that was his goal. I mean, he achieved way more than I intend to achieve in Japanese. Because myself, I'm not really that concerned about sounding just like a native speaker, but I think that people who do, I think that's awesome. I think that is an excellent achievement, and he is very inspirational. For me, I'm just happy if I can have a conversation, they're able to understand me, I can understand them. I'm happy that way. But I think that he is great, and if you want to achieve that high level of fluency, then ganbatte. He's very inspirational, and actually his videos, he gives a lot of information in his videos. He gives a lot of tips on how to study Japanese, and I know that he put like a lot of time and a lot of effort into learning this high level of Japanese. Obviously it paid off, but it's just so inspirational to know that it is achievable, because Japanese is a really hard language to learn, especially if you are a native English speaker, because the sentence order is so different. But I think that it is great, and that's why he is an inspiration. And not only does he talk about tips as far as learning Japanese, but he also talks about language learning tips in general, and he's very knowledgeable in this area, so I really enjoy watching his videos. Number 2 is Japanese Ammo with Misa. Now, I'm telling you, she is awesome. She teaches you Japanese phrases, and her videos are usually quite long. She writes them out in Romanji, she writes them out in Hiragana, Katakana, she writes what she's saying out in Kanji, in the translation, and I can't even imagine the time that she devotes to doing this, because I know how long it takes me to edit videos, and I can't even imagine how much time it takes her, because her videos are really long. It's like, but when she's teaching certain words and phrases, she talks about culturally, you know, the way that you should say things. She goes over grammar. She talks about like the way people really speak, and what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, which is good, because you're not learning textbook Japanese. You're learning the way it is spoken in real life, because that is the one thing about when you're learning in school, you're learning textbook language, and you're not actually learning the way people actually really speak. And then you go out in public and you sound like a textbook when you're speaking to people. Next, I'm gonna go over my favorite Instagram accounts that I follow. Now, I follow a lot of different ones that focus on Japanese, and a lot of them that I follow are just, they kind of just put up words, and then they have translations, and you can see the pictures and things like that, and those are great, those are fine. But my favorites are the ones that actually put out videos and they actually speak. They're not just photos, because you can actually hear the pronunciation, you can hear the actual language, and to me, I just think that that is most helpful. And they are entertaining. The first one is Imagi Japan with videos. And I really like this because she has skits, and she goes over a word and a phrase. She has little skits that show you the word being used in context, and they're pretty entertaining.
朝ごはん食べよう。パンを焼くよ。よし。焦げる、焦げる。
So sometimes she just kind of writes down new words and new phrases, but she's still reading it to you, and you're still hearing the language, and not just seeing it on the page and then you have to pronunciate it yourself, even though you are a person just learning the language, and it's really hard when you're just a beginner and you're learning. So to actually hear it is good, and she does that. The next one is studying Japanese. Now, this is a guy and a girl, and they put on little skits too. They show little phrases.
皆さんこんにちは。Today's Japanese phrase is 時間を稼ぐ。時間を稼ぐ。And this means to buy time. The direct translation of kasegu is to earn. So essentially, you are earning time.
And then they'll put on the skit to show the phrase being used in context.
もう来てるって
まだ準備できてない。時間稼いで。
わかった。5分待って。パーティーの準備中。
あ、行っちゃった。
And they also may show how it's written in kanji, and they go through the pronunciation. And they enunciate the word so that you can actually hear how the word is being pronounced.
How to say 時間を稼ぐ. The first and the last letter is low and the rest is high. 時間を稼ぐ。時間を稼ぐ。時間を稼ぐ.
The next is Taka Nihongo Dojo. For this one, he goes through a word or a phrase. Usually I think they're words, but he's actually doing something so you can actually see the word in action, what he's doing, and then he has a translation down in the description.
本を読む本を読まない
And the next one is Nihongo Laila. And I like her. She does little skits too with her Japanese. She shows words and phrases with a description, and she does a little skit. And it's not just always in one certain place. Sometimes she goes outside and she does skits with other people. Sometimes she's alone, and it's very useful. And she many times explains the words and the phrases to you.
私はあなたを誇りに思っています。
This is correct, but it's a little bit too much. Instead, you can just say, すごいね。よくやったね。How bit useful.
And the next one is Nihongo de Kaiwa. I really like this guy. This guy makes sure that he repeats the word that he's using, the Japanese word, very slowly so you can get the pronunciation.
Today's topic is 時間の無駄。時間の無駄。For example, アニメ見るのは時間の無駄だよ。いや、このアニメ見たらハマるよ。なるほど。多分ハマらないよ。
3 days later
何してるの？アニメ見てるんだ。ナルトは最高だよ。螺旋丸使ってみてね。
So there you go. Those are my top 7, my favorite accounts that I follow to study Japanese. I hope that you have found this video useful. If so, if you liked it, please give me a like and subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell. And thank you for watching. Until next time.